Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Atlanta Business Radio. Brought to you by OnPay. Built in Atlanta, OnPay is the top-rated payroll and HR software anywhere. Get 1 month free at onpay.com. Now, here's your host.
Well, welcome to the Small Business Fuel Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Wilson Jr., and I serve as the Area Director of the UGA Small Business Development Center at Georgia State University. The purpose of this show is to provide relevant resources and essential information to small businesses in Georgia that helps you to grow and succeed. This show is produced, recorded, and distributed on several social media and streaming platforms by our resource partner, Business RadioX. And we have a great show for you today. And I'm excited that on this show, I have a special co-host. That'll be Talisha Farrell Jackson with the Small Business Out. She is a Small Business Outreach Specialist with the State Purchasing Division in the Georgia Department of Administrative Services. Some of you may know that as DOAS. And so she's going to introduce our special guest for the show in a moment. But how are you today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you, Paul, for having us. I'm excited to be here.
Wonderful. So definitely looking forward to a great show. Well, without any further ado, why don't you introduce our guest and we'll just get moving.
Okay, I am proud to introduce the head of the DOAS, Department of Administrative Services, Commissioner J. Alexander Atwood. I am also privileged to be under his leadership. He has had a long and distinguished career in the law, business, military, and government services. On March 1st, 2019, Commissioner Atwood was appointed by Governor Brian P. Kemp to lead the Georgia Department of Administrative Services, overseeing numerous state operations and functions of the department, which include state purchasing, human resources administration, fleet management, surplus property, and risk management. Prior to assuming this role with the Department of Administrative Services, Commissioner Atwood served in the judiciary and was elected for 3 terms to the Georgia House of Representatives, where he served in numerous leadership and committee roles. He spent his early professional career as a special agent and supervisory special agent in federal law enforcement, serving throughout the United States and overseas. In addition to a distinguished judicial and legislative career, Commissioner Atwood served for 34 years in the United States Marine Corps Reserve in ground aviation and intelligence billets, retiring at the rank of full colonel. Following his retirement from federal service, Commissioner Atwood was one of the founding partners of the business litigation law firm Atwood, Choate, PC, and also worked as the chief operating officer and general counsel for a 700-member security corporation providing security services to numerous government agencies across the U.S., as well as the National Football League. Commissioner Atwood holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Criminal Justice, a Master of Arts in International Relations, a Juris Doctor in Law, cum laude, I might add, and is currently pursuing an LLM at Georgia State University, concentrating on the U.S. Constitution and the history of law. He is a past member of the Legal Honor Fraternity, Sigma Delta Kappa, and was elected a Fellow of the Lawyers Foundation of Georgia. Only 4% of Georgia attorneys have been elected as fellows. And last but not least, I must also add that Commissioner Atwood is the proud father of 3 children and 3 grandchildren. He has been married for 32 happy years to Cynthia Atwood, and the Atwoods reside in Atlanta and St. Simon's Island, Georgia. Did I do you justice, Commissioner Atwood?
Well, you did. When you live long enough, you have a lot of jobs. So thank you. Thank you so very much. You don't get bored easily. Well, I tell you, Talicia's such a great colleague of mine at DOAS, and I'm so very fortunate to be able to work with her. And Paul, I want to thank you too for your good work at the UGA Small Business Development Center and at GSU. And I really appreciate. Well, I read your bio; it's pretty impressive. So
absolutely, thank you again. And our privilege definitely to have you on this show because again, you bring a lot of insight and wisdom as well as resources and knowledge you can share with our small business audience. So. Looking forward to kind of picking your brain a little bit today, if that's okay. Absolutely.
So if you don't mind, Commissioner, we're going to dive right in. I'm going to lead with the first question, and that is, tell us all about DOAS and SBD, which is the State Purchasing Division, and what do you do, or what do we do, and how do you support small businesses and businesses alike?
Well, thank you, Talisha. We're an enterprise-wide operation, and that was part of when I was asked to come in, and I've had an absolute joy in leading the good men and women of DOAS. I've never had a better group of colleagues to work with. They're true professional all. We have, as you said, 5 principal business interests. We have the State Purchasing Division. They negotiate our competitive contracts, our statewide competitive contracts. And what that does is it reduces cost, but they also offer technical assistance. They conduct and assess competitive bids. They provide efficient purchasing systems and standards and specifications, and the list goes on and on. And we oversee, and in addition to the statewide contracts, we oversee purchasing for all state entities, University System of Georgia, the public colleges and universities and technical systems of Georgia. We look at a spend of a little more than $4.5 billion of goods and services for these state entities. But we are also the insurance company, if I can say that, for the state of Georgia under our risk management system and a division. And they direct the state internal workers' compensation. They control the liability, the property. They also manage the state's indemnification programs for public officers and educators. They do a myriad of very, very tough job, especially in the cyclic climate that we now face with the insurance carriers and others, and a very, very good job they've done. Our Human Resource Administration, they provide enterprise expertise in personnel policy and practices, and what they do is they help the agencies attract and develop and retain high-performer workforce. I mean, we are roughly 16,000 employees less working in Georgia state government than we were in 2008. And so the competition's keen. We want to bring the best and brightest we can into our government. And I like to try to recruit do a pitch every place I am, Paul, and I'm trying to do a little commercial here because I truly believe that public service is honorable. It adds esteem to the person, that the man or woman that comes into public service, and it also, if done well, it helps the people to have confidence in their government. So I encourage, especially our young people, come in and come to work for us. We'll put you to work, and that's what Al Howell and his great team over at Human Resource Administrations do, to try to help recruit where they can. And we also have our fleet management that manages the guidance and vehicle purchases and assignments and maintenance and a myriad of other things for over 20,000 vehicles, vessels, trailers, aircraft for the state of Georgia. And last but not least, we have surplus property that's responsible for not only the identification and disposition of state property, but also federal property. They have over 4,000 sales per year through their division. So it's just a wide range of things. And one principal thing, though, if I could step back, Talicia's so very aware of this, our policy training and outreach. And that team works with the business community, and they offer training for those businesses that like to partner with the state of Georgia, and we'll try to make ourselves available there whenever we can. So that's an awful lot of what we do, at least from DOAS standpoint. I think, Talicia, you wanted me to touch on what we're doing with small business. Was that correct?
Yes, that would be excellent. I would love to hear.
I didn't mean to give a monologue, but I am. I have, Paul. I have just loved my job. I love what I do, and this is one area that just I have fire for, if I can say that.
Sure.
We have. One of our strategic goals within DOAS, which is also the goal spelled out by Governor Kemp and his team, was to be the number one state in Georgia for small business. When I was a state representative, if I can be candid, many times I had small businesses across the state, business owners that would come to me and talk to me, and they felt like they didn't get a break. sometimes. Right. And it touched my heart, and our agency, we're doing the very best we can to wrap our arms around those folks because they produce such a large number of jobs.
Absolutely.
And it's a tough job. I've run businesses, and it's a tough job, matching your payroll, making your payroll every day. So we have several key strategies that we're moving ahead on trying to achieve that goal. We've increased our outreach. We've increased our training, our resources, including adding opportunities for virtual training, even in this COVID-19 pandemic. And we've touched more than 4,000. That's 4,000 potential suppliers, including small businesses in our training. We've launched a dedicated website. I'm going to do another commercial for you.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
There you go.
We're going to hire you to do all the publicity.
That's it. www.doas.ga.gov. www.doas.ga.gov. And just type in DOAS. It'll get to us. And what we've done, we have a dedicated web space there simply for small business. We have a web page. We have available resources on there. We've introduced our Small Business Symposium, which we do a really large procurement conference on Jekyll Island. We've done it for 3 years. It was sold out. We had over 800 attendees, and we brought folks in for a week. I think we did 40 or 50 different classes on teaching businesses. We had vendors teaching businesses how to do work with the state.
Right.
And we sat down and we put some of our bright folks together, and we said, what can we do to make it easier for small business? Small business can't take off, go to Jekyll Island for a week. That's tough.
Right.
How can we make it cheap?
Right.
So what we did, we partnered with the Technical College Systems of Georgia, and we had our very first, before the COVID-19, small business conference where we hosted, 10 or 11 classes teaching them how to do business. Cost $25. That included lunch. Gotcha. And Paul, we sold out. The fire marshal literally had to say, no more people.
Right.
We had 250.
Right.
That's it. We had 251 folks that showed up, and it was really well done. And now we're looking at how to do it virtually. We have to deal with the new normal, and we're looking at how to do that virtually. We want to do it all over the state to try to help those small businesses. We created an online tutorial for supplier to register in our Team Georgia marketplace, which includes hundreds of procurement professionals across the state who managing the purchase of goods and services needed to operate the business of government. So we're doing as much as we possibly can to try to move the ball to help those good men and women and businesses that are trying to be successful within Georgia.
Absolutely. No, that's incredible. And I actually appreciate everything that you laid out, because I think for many people outside the government or even small businesses, we say the word government, right? And it's sometimes seen as just one big monolithic, institution, not realizing, as you just laid out, all of the different divisions, right, within the state government that helps the government operate, but also it creates opportunities for these small businesses to engage with the government, right, in these different departments. So I think that's very important for business owners to know that there are opportunities, not just this kind of one big, one area of government, but there's different divisions that really support our state from that standpoint. Absolutely. And so, as again, you started talking about some of those initiatives, even related to small businesses in the pandemic. Can you kind of speak to maybe a few more of those in terms of how DOAS is working with small businesses as well as the state overall during the pandemic?
First, thank you for giving us this opportunity to be here, because it's really good for us to be able to speak to the people. And one of the things that if I could point out, the best starting place, the first place to start, is simply to become registered with DOAS as a supplier. That's something that I would encourage folks to do. The process is free. It doesn't take but about 5 or 10 minutes, and it provides multiple benefits that includes such things as email communications for business opportunities and targeted communications that allow a business to be added to a searchable database so state and local government entities can find them. and as well as prime contractors for developing potential business partnerships. Our goal is to connect businesses with opportunities. Now, that helps the businesses, but it also helps the taxpayers. The more competition we have, the better bang for the buck we can get.
Absolutely.
Competition is a good thing for everybody concerned. Also, go to the small business webpage on DOES. Now, that will include resources and information about upcoming outreach and training. Training is very important for small business suppliers. And we'll have those pair up with our small business partners and various state entities such as the UGA Small Business Development Center, Georgia Tech Procurement Assistance Center, the Georgia Department of Transportation. We'll pair them up with those folks. And it all starts online, again, at www.does.ga.gov. And we've also got additional resources, included partnering with SBA, 8A, and veteran service organizations through our surplus property division to provide cost savings opportunities in surplus property. So we're doing an awful lot of things there, and if they'll come to us, we'll work with you.
Absolutely, it's definitely, as I said, many opportunities, from that standpoint to work, and the government, of course, hasn't shut down during the pandemic. It's been operating fully to support the citizens of Georgia.
We have not missed a beat. Now, one thing we've had to do, we had a virtual environment for we've been exercising that for fleet and for surplus for about a year, and it worked well. We, during the early part of the pandemic, put our business continuity plan into action, and I have awful large percentage of our employees are working from home, but not only have they carried out all their functions, and we have studies that we are doing to make sure that we're meeting what we're supposed to do and getting our work done. We're continuing to look at those to be sure we're producing. But we've done an awful lot of other things in addition to that as a result of the pandemic. I mean, we've been fully engaged in working with our supporting essentially Governor Kemp's efforts and leadership in response to the pandemic. And we continue to work with those folks, with the partnership with our agencies such as the Georgia Department of Public Health, run by Commissioner Toomey, does such a great job with the Department of Economic Development, with the Georgia Emergency Management, Homeland Security, my good friend Homer Bryson over there, and others. And we're trying to help them achieve their outcome that they need to protect the citizens of Georgia. I mean, one of the first things we did was to recognize that the agency needed to be in a position to effectively communicate our guidance and update our customers very quickly. Right. And so we launched a web page with a dedicated COVID-19 page for each of our business units, not just one, not just a generic one, but one from each of our business units so our partners could go online and see specifically what they needed without wasting a lot of time. And during the crisis, we tried very hard to make the information available as rapidly as we possibly could because they rely on us for information. But we also made other adjustments. And we jumped in to support our state agencies. For example, I'll brag a little bit here. All right. Lisa Eason, our state purchasing division, they assisted very quickly, got involved with our state entities and contracting efforts with GEMA. And I can pull these statistics. I won't be complete, but I can give you a few of them out of my head. We've added 172 suppliers of PPE and medical equipment. We sourced and located some 4 million isolation gowns, 3 million N95 masks, 55.8 million nitrile gloves, 1 million medical surgical face masks, and the list goes on and on. And they were working through the weekends. They were working at night. I cannot be prouder of them for the work they did. We relied on a long number of years of good relationships with our procurement network to be able to help get goods in quickly. Director Bryce and other ones, they were contracting, they were getting goods in, and we added to that when they came to us and asked us to help. And we did a myriad of other things involving statewide contracting, and I'm very, very happy to be able to have been part of that. One thing we did, I remember, I think there was a company named Premier Surplus. They were one of our small companies, our small businesses, I should say, and they refurbished 100 laptops for us so that some of our agencies could use those to do telework and that sort of thing. So we tried to work with everybody concerned to try to add something to the fight to help the good men and women on the front lines that are out there protecting us. So.
Absolutely. And we definitely appreciate that. And I'm sure they do too. Because a lot of times that type of activity, right, is happening behind the scenes that the general public isn't seeing that. And again, and one of the great parts of that, right, of what you just shared, right, are the businesses that are partnered with the state, right, to be able to provide those services and resources and PPE and everything else that was needed. And so, it's wonderful, again, to have an organization or an entity, right, that's engaging businesses in the small business community, but that's also helping the entire state at the same time. It's really a partnership that happens.
That is the best word you can use. It is a partnership, not only with our suppliers but also within state government, and that's kind of our role. We're a little bit of a backdoor operation. Mm-hmm. But one of the huge things, for example, Al Howell over at our Human Resources did just HRA, Human Resource Administration. They spent, I can't tell you the number of hours in consultation with our DOAS legal staff to review the new federal laws and regulations related to COVID-19 leave and the other, to try to put them into a statewide policy and develop frequently asked questions to be able, because we were getting a myriad of questions from various state agencies. How do you apply this? And we'd be halfway through it and we get a new set of regulations coming in, and we'd have to go.
Relate, trust me.
Oh, let me tell you, we were I think 45 minutes to go online one time and had a new set of regs, and we said, well, hold it up and worked hard.
Yeah, that one up, start over, right?
Oh yeah, well, it's what you got to do. I mean, it's an emergency, and as I learned years ago in the Marine Corps, you have to adapt and overcome, and that's be flexible. Be flexible. It's kind of like a business. You have to be flexible to meet your customer needs. Well, that's what we do. We try best to run DOS like a business, and I think it makes sense. And I'm just, as I said before, I can't be prouder of the folks that are working there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yay. I just want to say, Commissioner, definitely you have the right to brag anytime you want to, because I am on that team with you, and this is why I love it, and under your leadership. So I want to applaud you just being there. I came in at the beginning of January and being there and seeing what you guys have done in such a short period of time of just me being there. And then you throw in the pandemic and the response rates and the devotion and commitment from each division and each team member that I have witnessed has just been incredible and inspiring. So if you don't mind, we are going to jump. So you spoke of your careers or your law enforcement. So let's go to that. It's so exciting because I don't know if you remember, but we kind of shared a moment. We shared a moment, Commissioner, of being both in the area of Brunswick and St. Simon's Island. And I've lived there, and you're currently, commuting and living there and going back and forth. And so it's so much. Believe it or not, it's a small town, but it has a lot of history to it. So, but there, your careers in law and business and even military contrasted with your extensive leadership opportunities. But how have those experiences served you in your current role with DOAS?
Well, that's a good question. I'm much more comfortable talking about y'all than I am talking about myself. And I do remember us sharing a moment. I have a standing policy that I would bring every new hire that comes in. I sit down with them in our office. I like to do it within the first week that we're there and learn about everybody, and I definitely remember that, Alicia.
And I'm as nervous now talking to you as I was then. Thank you.
Well,
but you always make it comfortable, though.
No reason to be nervous at all. I don't know. That's a very good question. I was not expecting to come up here when I was offered the opportunity to come. I'm very thankful to Governor Kemp that he gave me the opportunity to lead. I enjoyed leadership very, very much. As I've said, I think that government service is honorable, and it adds a lot to the person and adds a lot to the service if done well. And I kind of believe, rather than contrasting, I think it more so complemented what I'm doing now, my life experiences and my role. I mean, I learned a long time ago that you lead people and you manage things. I learned that in the Marine Corps as a young Marine officer, and I try to bring that here. That you first and foremost should be honored to lead. It's an honor, and you should be honored to lead. And what that means is you care for the good folks that are working with you. Take care of them. Look out for them. And sometimes that means being tough, and sometimes it means being kind. But it always means keeping them in your thoughts and your prayers, and doing what is best for them and not what is best for you. And while you carry out your mission, because mission is important. That's why the taxpayers pay us. And that's we can't forget that. Mission's important, but I believe that you can do both. That you can take care of your troops and education and development and good hard work, rewarding that, while at the same time carrying out your mission. But so that's one thing I learned. I worked in several operational roles, both here and overseas. I've served in a lot of different areas of the world, from Hungary to Korea to Spain to Honduras and different places. And I expected when I came into DOAS that I would probably I would find a place that was had some very, very good performers, but maybe some that were not so good. And I was pleasantly surprised. So all I've been able to do, because of the really true professionals, and I mean, they turned out a product so very, very well. I just wish the citizens could witness, Paul, what I have witnessed there, because taking those experiences in the law, we do contracting. The law helps me every now and then to understand that process. I worked in a business contracting area and business operations, business litigation. So that helps. Working with a company that as I used to say, having to make that payment every month brings a perspective to government service that I think benefits us, that I can look at a company with a two-pronged perspective. Yes, I'm looking at the government assignment that I have to be sure. One of my titles is Chief Procurement Officer for the state of Georgia.
Okay.
And I have to be sure that the laws are carried out in an effective and efficient manner and a fair manner. We can't have an ethical standard and fail and wink at it. You've got to make it sure it's fair to all concerned. But you can also look at it from a business perspective. Are we doing anything that's not truly necessary? Are we being efficient? Are we being kind to our suppliers? Are we reaching out to them and helping them from a business perspective the same way we would help any client that we were doing work for? Because our client base is multifaceted. We have not only suppliers, but we have state entities that need our help, that are going to be buying from these suppliers. What are we doing to be inefficient? What are we doing to be efficient? And so I try to look at it, and I think those experiences have helped me to look at it with from two different positions. And I think maybe that's a little bit that I can bring in, because our mission is very, very diverse. We have challenges every day. Part of, as you know, working with businesses, and being able to adapt and adjust and respond quickly, that's critical too.
Absolutely.
I think, I'm not sure if I read in your bio that you did some work with the National Football League. Did you?
Yeah, I did.
I thought you did. Yeah, I thought you did. Let me tell you, you may recall, I can recall working with the National Football League, and you better be on time, and you better be on point with those good folks, or you won't be working with the National Football League. So it's it's that background that I think maybe helps a little bit, and being able to be part of that business world, maybe brings that a little bit of perspective that I hope will. You always want to leave a place a little better than you found it.
Yes,
absolutely. And I've been bragging on my folks. I really have. but it's well earned. And I tell you, that's the tough part of my job, leaving it better than I found it, because of the professionalism that we have. But I hope that I can bring those life experiences maybe and do a little bit that will help, and then pass it on a little bit better than I received it. But it's going to be a tough one because we got some good folks.
Definitely. Well, at least it's a high bar, right?
It is. It's a high bar. Yeah.
Which is a good thing. Absolutely.
Well, you can always improve. I mean, we're looking at a lot of efficiencies. We've been going through that, and to try to improve in different areas, intelligent automation, things like that. And we are certainly going to be grabbing hold of those.
You have to, Paul. We have to. They step up the game. You can't be there in a slacker. I mean, did I read you the commissioner's bio? Did you? I mean, they inspire you. I really do mean that it is very inspiring to be surrounded by the knowledge, the intelligence, the commitment of so many team members, and under the commissioner's leadership to set the example and lead the charge on that. So,
absolutely. And so I know there's a question I know, Talisha, you're going to ask, and this question was not in your bio, but it's a very unique perspective that you have on a very significant historical figure. So Talisha, I'll let you jump in with that question, because I'm very excited to hear this answer.
Okay. Commissioner, I have to ask, I must, having been assigned to such a revered leader as Reverend Martin Luther King Sr., what are some of the traits you believe it takes to be an effective leader during a time such as this pandemic, and what's going on in the world today?
I did as a young man. I was blessed to have that experience. Daddy King, as he was known to everybody, was a in his own way was a very humbling. It humbled me, I'll put it that way, to be around him. I stood and listened, and just thought he was just a wonderful man and a great leader in his own right. Let me tell you, a great leader in his own right, and an inspiring man. I could tell you some funny stories too. I won't here, but that happened.
We'll say that for the next interview.
Well, he would direct you accordingly too. Let me tell you, he would direct you accordingly. But I did think the world of him, and I was very honored to have been assigned to him for a while. What was the second part of the question there that you had, Alicia? I'm sorry.
Just what are some of the traits? We revere him. We hear about him. We hear about all of the great things he's done, and you spoke highly. But you've had a personal relationship with him, and just taking some of those experiences of your own, as well as seeing him and his leadership role. What are some of the traits that you believe that it takes to bring over to be an effective leader, to be that empowering, in today's society or in what's going on in the world today?
Humility.
I love it.
That's a word not used a lot. Humility is one, and I tried to touch on it. And going back to my early life, the Marine Corps, we have a tradition in the Marine Corps that the troops eat first. If you're in the field and you're the commander, for example, you go through last. You eat last, and it's by rank. The enlisted folks will eat before the second lieutenants. The second lieutenants will eat before the first lieutenants. And that reminds all concerned who really matters in any working organization. It's privates that take hills. It's not generals. And so you need to understand that. The other thing, if you're going to be successful, I truly believe that it's a good way of looking at things. That's just kind of my personal belief factor. The other thing too, and if you walk in my office, Paul, you'll see it. It's hanging on the left side of the door. That's and I purposely put it there so that people that walk out of my office, the last thing they see is this sign, and it says, "Stay calm and carry on." Mm-hmm. And I think calmness, things are going to go bad in any operation. That's to be expected. Mm-hmm. And so you just stay calm and deal with it.
Absolutely.
And if you can kind of keep that in your mind, the first thing you do when something hits and you think that Western civilization will end as you know it, as I like to joke about, if you don't handle this right away, stay calm. I think it was General Marshall that said that when he had, he was chief staff of the Army and a great leader in his own right. He was responsible for carrying out the Marshall Plan after World War II. Right. I think he said, of all those things I worried about in the future, if I had to do over again, I would worry only about half of them, because most of them, at least half did turn out. So that's one thing. Try as hard as you can to be calm and to lead thoughtfully. Work hard, do your due diligence, be a professional in what you do. You can't know everything, but at least try to know as much as you can do. Mm-hmm. And that's what little bit of a leadership perspective I'll bring to you. I don't know if that answers your question, Alicia.
Absolutely.
I hope it did.
It absolutely does. There's a lot of antiperspirant that goes along with keeping calm, though, Commissioner. I'm just saying.
Exactly. Well, don't get me wrong. There's been a few times I pulled out this old gray hair, but I try to do it privately and a little quietly. Take a few breaths before you respond.
Absolutely. Well, sir, we definitely appreciate your time and your insights, and definitely this is not enough time to get everything. But hopefully we'll have a chance to actually do this again.
Paul, it's my honor, and I would look forward to it greatly. I really would. Yeah. It's been fun for me.
Good. So again, you've been a business owner, and I give you this last question, just kind of wrap up. Any encouragement that you would have for entrepreneurs right now, small business owners, as again we're navigating this season, from your position now, but also again you've been a business owner. So any final thoughts that you would have to our small business audience?
I've talked to a lot of small business owners since the pandemic began, for example, and I have been amazed at them being able to leave. I was an intelligence officer for a while, and part of the hardest thing you have to do with any commander is to tell them to fight the battle as it exists on the ground, not as you want it to be. Gotcha. You have to, we call it ground truth. So you have to look at what is the ground truth of your organization. And if you're having to adapt during this new pandemic or whatever faces you in the future, then study the ground truth and see what you can do to overcome it. And make your every little thing in an operation. If you can save 10 minutes in handling paper, for example, that's where we use robotics a little bit, or intelligent automation. If I can save a redundant task for 10 minutes, if it's nothing more than handling mail, for example, within DOAS, we're going paperless. It's going to save on copy machines. Right. It's going to save on a lot of things. But we have lost time in employees trying to find certain documents. Well, you put a keywords in a search, automatically that will come up. I mean, we shredded, I think it was the last number that was given to me, something like 40,000 documents that have been stored. We have storage costs. We can safely and securely store those offline. Employees simply taking a few minutes to go into a room to search for those things cost you more money than if they push a computer button and there it is.
True.
So every little thing that takes away from your adds more cost to your operation, that's what you need to look at. Streamline it, work with it, constantly be vigilant, train the employees, look at recruitment. work with them. And that's one of the things. We started a leadership academy. Lisa Eason did a great job starting it within state purchasing division. I came in my first month. I looked at it. I said, this is a wonderful program. We're trying to build a deep bench. Let me ask you a question. Why aren't we doing it agency wide? Mm-hmm. Would you like to do that? I sure would. We now have an agency-wide program, and she was tickled to do it, and we bring in folks. We take some time out. Normally it's on a Friday. Our students have to apply, and they have to compete. They come in and they spend at least half a day on a Friday over several months, learning from the best and brightest and learning how to be better professionals. I'm building that bench. After I leave, we're going to have a deeper bench than we had before. And that's important to you. So don't forget the education of your employees. And those are just a few items I can think of.
Okay. No, go ahead.
No, that's we do have the ability and the opportunity to dive into quite a few educational and leadership opportunities. So I look forward to taking more advantage of those, and I'm really grateful that DOAS provides that. So thank you, Commissioner, for today. I truly have enjoyed it. And is there a chance that I can sign up again for my Commissioner Coffee with the Commissioner? Or do I just need to meet you on the podcast platform?
I'll be an honorary employee.
Well, Paul will do it. What we started, I before the pandemic hit,
you have to tell them. Yes.
I call it Coffee with a Commish. Just come on in. We'll sit for normally an hour and a half, and I'll take questions from everybody that signs up. Nobody's made to do it. You want to sign up? Come on in. We'll sit and talk. Okay. And then it helps us. You've got to get messaging out. You've got to communicate. We have a thing that comes out, was coming out weekly. We now do it every 2 weeks, called News on the Move, because we're looking at hoteling and more virtual work, because it seems to be working out very effectively and efficiently for us. But I wanted to keep the employees advised. Carla Murphy and her team, they do a great job in putting that thing together. But we also send out communications directly from me to everybody about every 2 weeks or so. Things I want to share if it's budget, if it's open and honest communication, because people have concerns out there they need to know. And but one of the things that I just truthfully love doing is Coffee with a Commish. They'd come in, I'd cook some coffee for them, and we'd sit around and talk. Well, we can't do it now because we're in a virtual situation. Well, what do? You adapt and overcome. So I got with the folks. I said, I want to do it virtually. I can't provide the coffee, but I can provide the commish. So
or we just create a podcast where we have the commissioner on, and you just come in and there you go.
So Paul, I'm going to tell you, you're invited anytime. Come on in, and we so we just did our first virtual one, and it seemed like it worked pretty well.
Good. That's good.
It's another little technique we use.
Absolutely. No, I truly believe people are the most important asset of any organization. So it's great to hear that you are living that out also from that standpoint. So again, and definitely want to thank you for your time. Also, thank you, Talisha, for helping to coordinate this and set this up. And I will, of course, co-host this show as representing DOAS. And again, thank you to our audience for listening to this episode of Small Business Fuel. Our goal at the UGA SBDC is to provide you with relevant resources, practical tools, and training resources to help small business grow and succeed. If you would like to connect with us one-on-one to get help for your small business, we have business consultants at 18 locations around the state to assist you. Please visit us at our website at www.georgiasbdc.org/Atlanta. And until our next episode of Small Business Fuel, please stay safe, healthy, and profitable.
Today's episode of Atlanta Business Radio is brought to you by OnPay. Built in Atlanta, OnPay is the top-rated payroll and HR software anywhere. Get 1 month free at onpay.com.